You were taught that Earth is anchored, tethered by gravity to the Sun, safely orbiting in a cosmic dance that's lasted for billions of years, that the solar system is a closed, stable system, predictable, reassuring. But what if that's a lie? What if this planet beneath your feet, your home, your sanctuary, could one day be kicked out of this system entirely, cast adrift into the dark between the stars? It sounds impossible. Earth leaving the solar system? Absurd, right? Yet, space doesn't care about your comfort, and the universe has never promised permanence. In fact, the forces swirling around us, the gravitational chaos of planets, the silent approach of distant stars, the subtle whispers of passing giants, have the power to unmoor entire worlds. And they have, before. The cosmos is littered with exiles, planets without suns, wandering orbs of rock and ice called rogue planets. And any one of them could have been like us, could have been us. You might be wondering, could a star like Gliese 710 really pass close enough to hurl Earth out of orbit? The truth? It already is. It's coming. Not tomorrow, not next year, but it's already inbound, already moving through space, like a cosmic wrecking ball. And when it arrives, it could send gravitational shock waves through the solar system, flinging asteroids, warping orbits, and, yes, possibly ejecting Earth into deep space. What happens to a planet that loses its sun? What happens to life when there is no more warmth, no more dawn, no more tether to a star? Would gravity hold us together? Would our oceans freeze into silence? Would the atmosphere collapse like a dying breath? Or could we survive? Could humanity, huddled in bunkers or orbiting stations, adapt to eternal night? You might believe the solar system is a sanctuary. That Earth is locked in a safe celestial pattern, untouched by the chaos beyond. But space doesn't work like that. It's not a calm ocean. It's a storm of gravitational possibilities. And sometimes, just sometimes, the storm wins. Now imagine this. You walk outside one evening, look up at the night sky, and realize something is wrong. The stars seem brighter, colder. The moon hangs lower. The sun doesn't rise the next morning, or the next. The world cools, not gradually, but fast. And suddenly, it dawns on you. We've left. Earth has been ejected. Alone. A pale blue dot. Drifting further from the only warmth it ever knew. Would we know why it happened? Could we trace the exact moment? A slight tug from Jupiter, a passing neutron star, a tiny instability in orbit from a gravitational encounter we never saw coming? Or would it be a mystery forever? And even more haunting, what if it's already happening? This isn't science fiction. It's astrophysical possibility. And tonight, we ask a question that most minds are too afraid to confront. What would happen if Earth left the solar system? Everything you thought you knew about our place in space is about to unravel. Are you ready to follow Earth into the dark? In the beginning, there was motion. Not light, not sound, just the unimaginable acceleration of everything, everywhere. A young cosmos, newly born, expanded with such violent force that space itself unfolded faster than the speed of light. Galaxies hadn't formed yet. Atoms didn't exist. It was a white-hot fog of potential, stretching outward into… what, exactly? That's where the mystery begins. You've heard it said that the universe is expanding. But expanding into what? There's no outside, no border. Space is not stretching into something. It's stretching itself. like a canvas painting itself from the inside, adding more and more space with every passing moment. Our solar system is a speck, a ripple in this grand unfolding. The Sun ignited in a spiral arm of the Milky Way nearly 4.6 billion years ago, pulling gas, dust, and debris into orbit. Earth formed from collisions, from chaos, from cosmic violence. And somehow, impossibly, it cooled just enough, held onto its water, balanced between freezing and fire. Life bloomed, then crawled, then built telescopes to look back at the stars that created it. You've been told that this system is stable, that the planets move in elliptical orbits, that gravity is law, and that Earth will circle the Sun forever. But stability in space is a temporary illusion. Gravity is not a chain. It's a negotiation. Planets don't orbit peacefully. They compete. Every object in the solar system pulls on every other. Minute changes accumulate over time, and the larger the object, like Jupiter, the system's heavyweight, the more unpredictable the long-term effects become. And there's more. Out there, beyond Pluto, in the cold dark of the Oort cloud, lurk trillions of frozen remnants, comets, icy shells waiting to be nudged. And what might nudge them? A passing star. It's happened before. We know because we can see the scars, craters, extinctions, erratic orbital debris, and it will happen again. Gliese 710, a relatively dim orange dwarf star, is on a trajectory that will bring it perilously close to our solar system. Not in our lifetime, but close enough, cosmically speaking, to matter. You might imagine space as empty, static. But it's a dynamic ballet of invisible threads, gravity weaving its quiet web. One unexpected tug from a nearby star, one shift in orbital resonance, and everything changes. Earth, seemingly secure in its 93 million-mile dance around the Sun, could one day find itself the victim of celestial miscalculation. Solar system simulations have shown us that orbits are not forever. Over long enough timelines, chaos creeps in. Jupiter could, under certain scenarios, gravitationally eject Earth with nothing more than a slight nudge from an outside influence. Like a slingshot tightening, then letting go. Not immediately, not violently, but relentlessly. With cold mathematical certainty. Think of it. Earth, once the jewel of a star, slowly drawn off course, tilted, pulled, and then let go. The night sky would begin to change subtly. Familiar constellations would drift. The seasons would falter. Temperatures would slip. Our orbit wouldn't just shift overnight, it would unravel gradually, deceivingly. And by the time we noticed, it might already be too late. And what then? Would we try to resist it? Could we build technology vast enough to push a planet back into orbit? Could we anchor Earth to some artificial sun? Or would we watch helplessly as our world faded into interstellar cold? You may feel safe under your sky, but above you, the solar system is not a sanctuary. It's a battleground of gravitational forces. We call it home, but space never agreed to keep us here. And if Earth can be ejected, what does that say about everything we take for granted? About the permanence of life, the fragility of habitability, and the illusion that anything in the universe is ever truly safe? You were born into a cosmic order. But what if that order is temporary? What if all of it, the Sun, the planets, even this idea of orbit, is just a passing phase of something far more unstable, far more terrifying? This is the stage, a solar system teetering on mathematical edge, a galaxy full of unseen interstellar currents, a planet that thinks it's safe. Now, ask yourself, what holds us here? And who, or what, might one day let go? Imagine peeling back the sky, layer by layer, until you could see the machinery beneath. Beneath the stars, the light, the seeming calm of space, lies a web of invisible tensions. A system so delicately balanced, so unfathomably vast, that even the most minute force, a distant star, a whisper of dark matter, a slingshot from Jupiter, could send an entire planet careening into darkness. Earth is not exempt from these rules. In fact, it is uniquely vulnerable. At the center of this possibility lies gravity. Not just the kind that pulls apples from trees, but the cosmic version, a game of orbital chess stretching across billions of kilometers. Jupiter, the solar system's giant, has long been Earth's protector, absorbing comets, deflecting asteroids. But it also holds a darker potential. A giant so massive, its gravity alone could one day act as a slingshot. If the right object, a passing star or brown dwarf, nudged Jupiter at just the right angle, simulations show it could shift Earth's orbit. Not violently at first, but just enough. Over centuries or millennia, that subtle nudge could grow. Earth could spiral inward toward a fiery death, or be flung outward like a rogue world. And rogue planets are real. We've found them. Dozens. Planets wandering the interstellar void without stars, alone in the blackness. Some of them Earth-sized, some larger than Jupiter. Ejected, abandoned, unmoored. Astronomers believe there could be billions of them. Cast-offs from early solar system chaos, or victims of gravitational betrayal. But what if we became one? If Earth were flung from the Sun, perhaps by the gravitational wake of Gliese 710, as it slings through the Oort cloud? What would follow isn't just cold, it's silence. No more solar wind. No more magnetic protection. The auroras would vanish. The blue sky would turn black. Without sunlight, photosynthesis stops. Within days, surface temperatures would plummet. Within months, the oceans begin to freeze, not from the top down, but eventually as solid masses. The atmosphere would collapse, condensing onto the surface like frost on glass. But gravity? Gravity would remain. Earth's mass wouldn't change. The moon would likely stay in orbit, but even that familiar companion might drift if Earth's trajectory altered enough. Our sense of rhythm, day, night, seasons, all gone. Instead, we would drift under eternal starlight. Could humanity survive? Maybe. Underground bunkers heated by nuclear energy. Artificial biospheres powered by geothermal heat. A desperate hope. But for how long? Decades, centuries, maybe more. Yet the psychological toll would be immense. Knowing the sun is gone, watching the planet fade into interstellar space like a lifeboat without coordinates. The question isn't just, could we survive? It's, would we want to? And then there's the question of steering Earth. Could advanced civilizations develop a way to gravitationally anchor a rogue Earth to another star? Could we ride the interstellar, tide and slingshot ourselves into the orbit of another system? The energy required is beyond imagination, but not beyond theory. Some have proposed using controlled asteroid flybys, gravity assists on a planetary scale, to gently steer Earth. A cosmic engine driven not by combustion, but by mathematics and patience. But there are more unsettling questions. What if we're not the first? What if other planets, once homes like ours, were flung into darkness long ago? What if the rogue worlds we now observe are the graves of civilizations that never escaped? And what if Earth already is shifting? What if the long-term gravitational effects of the solar system are already playing out? Simulations suggest instability over billions of years, but simulations are only as good as our understanding. They don't account for the unknowns, unseen, brown dwarfs, dark matter clouds, or the chaotic influence of hypothetical Planet 9. Now, imagine this. You're drifting in a spacecraft far beyond Neptune, and ahead of you, you see Earth, no longer bound, a glowing marble against the void. The sun, now a dim dot behind it. And you realize, with chilling clarity, that home has become a ghost ship, adrift among the stars. Still, some theories suggest even stranger things. What if space itself is not static? What if it's shaped by quantum foam? Tiny fluctuations of energy at Planck-scale distances? In such a scenario, even empty space could influence planetary orbits. Gravity might not be a fixed law, but an emergent property. A suggestion whispered by geometry itself. And then, entropy, the measure of disorder. Over time, all systems lose energy, decay, fade. Even orbits, even stars. Could the eventual fate of Earth be tied to entropy on a universal scale? Perhaps being ejected is not a rare catastrophe, but an expected phase of cosmic evolution. You may be asking, what about the Moon? If Earth leaves the solar system, would the Moon follow? Likely, yes. Bound by gravity, it would remain in orbit, unless the ejection was violent enough to tear it away. In which case, we would lose not just sunlight, but the tides, the stabilizing influence on Earth's tilt, and the only other world we've ever touched. And that tilt, Earth's axial angle, is fragile. Alter it slightly, and climates shift. Seasons vanish. Without the sun's guiding gravitational influence, Earth's spin might eventually slow, wobble, or even tumble. The stars above would swirl into unfamiliar constellations. North and south would blur. Compass needles would lie. But it's not all darkness. There's a chance Earth, as a rogue planet, could pass near another star system. Maybe even one with a habitable zone, a second chance, a new home. The odds are vanishingly small, but in a galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars, even rare events happen. And what of interstellar travel? Would humanity abandon Earth and escape to artificial habitats before the ejection? Or ride along with it, terraforming as we go, adapting to deep space as a species redefined? There's a poetic horror in the idea of Earth without the sun, but also a strange hope, a world set free, a test of resilience, of whether life, true life, can survive without the star that birthed it. As we drift deeper into this thought experiment, remember, this isn't just a nightmare scenario, it's a possibility. It's science, simulations run by astronomers, observations from Gaia and the James Webb Space Telescope. It's the data we have, staring back at us with quiet urgency. So now ask yourself, if Earth became a rogue planet, what would it say about the fragility of our place in the universe? And what would that new night sky look like? One without dawn. Because somewhere, out there, the darkness is waiting. And Earth, whether today or a billion years from now, might one day answer its call. You were born beneath a sky that promised warmth, a sky that followed rules. The sun would rise, the moon would pull the tides, seasons would come and go. These were not beliefs, they were certainties. You've never questioned them. But what if everything you trusted about this sky was borrowed, temporary? Imagine waking up to silence. No birdsong, no rustling trees, just a strange stillness in the air. You step outside, and the sky is darker than you remember. Not cloudy, not stormy, just wrong. And then, slowly, it hits you. The sun didn't rise today, and it won't tomorrow. It's not behind the earth. We're leaving it behind. You feel it before you understand it. A slow drop in temperature. An eerie calm. The kind of stillness that wraps itself around your chest and tightens. Our atmosphere begins to thin. Oxygen remains, but the pressure changes. The oceans shimmer with a strange stillness before the top layers start to freeze. Lakes become mirrors of ice. Snow falls in places it never did. But it's not winter. It's ending. And what of the people? Your family? Your friends? What happens when humanity stares at the dying sky and realizes there's no going back? Do we panic? Pray? Build? Or do we simply watch? Huddled in underground shelters, staring at old photos of sunlight, whispering bedtime stories that begin with, "Once there was a star." Would we mourn the sun like a loved one? Or would we rage at the sky for abandoning us? The earth keeps spinning, but time loses meaning. There's no more day, no more night, just cold, dim starlight. And suddenly, clocks feel absurd. Calendars become relics. We begin measuring life not in hours or days, but in degrees, in breaths that fog the air, in the number of people still holding on. You might wonder, would we survive this? Technically, yes. Maybe for decades. We'd burn nuclear reactors for warmth, tap geothermal heat, seal ourselves in domes. But survival isn't life. And slowly, the weight of knowing we are unmoored from everything we evolved to depend on would change us. We might go blind from lack of sunlight, depressed from eternal night. Crops would die. Livestock would wither. The food chain, something we've always taken for granted, would collapse. And humans, the top species on Earth, would suddenly become scavengers of their own ruins. And then there's the moon. You look up, and it's still there, still orbiting us, a pale witness to our fall from the light. But even it seems more distant. Without the sun's light to reflect, the moon becomes a faint gray ghost. And you realize we've both been abandoned. Or worse, we've fled. The emotional weight of this isn't measured in Kelvin or atmospheric loss. It's measured in grief, in the psychological fracturing of a species that's never lived without a sunrise. It's measured in children asking, "When will the sun come back?" And the only answer is silence. Some will believe it's punishment. Others will say it's destiny. A few will see it as evolution. And perhaps a few will look to the stars and dream of steering Earth once more, of finding a new home. But most will simply want the sky back. Because the truth is, we are creatures of light. Our biology is wired to it. Our stories are shaped by it. The very idea of time, of beginnings and endings, comes from the sun's rhythm. Remove it, and what are we? You were taught that the earth is our home, but that was only true as long as the sun allowed it. Now we are vagabonds, orphans of the solar system. And suddenly, home becomes a memory, a heat you can no longer feel, but still ache for. So ask yourself, could you live in a world where warmth is legend? Could you raise a child beneath a sky that never changes? Could you keep hope alive when every instinct tells you we've been cast into exile? And the most haunting question of all, was this always going to happen? Maybe this is the fate of all planets. Maybe solar systems are temporary shelters, brief flickers in a far greater darkness. Maybe Earth leaving the solar system isn't a tragedy, but a rite of passage, the beginning of a longer journey through the stars. But for now, all you can do is wait, wrapped in layers, watching frost creep across your windows, listening to the hum of machines keeping you alive, and wondering, with a pain you can't quite name, what happens to a world that's lost its sun? The answer might be out there, somewhere in the dark. But are you ready to face it? In the end, it's not the cold that breaks you. It's the silence. A silence so complete it feels alive, thick, pressing, absolute. You walk through the remnants of Earth's last cities, now entombed in frost, and feel the weight of what's been lost. Not just the sun, but meaning, structure, warmth, hope. And then something stirs. Not in the ice, not in the windless sky, but in thought. A single, staggering realization rises. What if this isn't the end at all? Because even now, even in the void, Earth is still moving, still falling, not downward, but outward, into the deep unknown. And perhaps that movement is the story. Perhaps Earth being ejected wasn't an accident, but part of something greater, something the universe does on purpose. Some physicists speak of heat death, the final fate of everything. A time so distant it makes galaxies seem like fireflies, when energy is evenly spread, when motion ceases, when the cosmos forgets itself. But others whisper of reversals, of something unexpected that happens once silence becomes total. A sudden collapse, a flicker, a memory replayed. What if the heat death is not a death at all, but a womb? What if, in the coldest silence, something is waiting? Not life as we know it, not stars or galaxies, but possibility. A kind of rebirth, written not in atoms but in probability itself. Look up now. The stars have shifted. You don't know their names. You don't even know what region of the galaxy Earth drifts through anymore. But one light, just one, seems brighter, unmoving. You stare. You wonder. Could it be another sun? Not the one we lost? Not the one that watched over our ancient civilizations, but a new one, a star we were always meant to find. Not through intention, but through exile. Not by launching ships, but by becoming a ship. Maybe Earth itself was our vessel all along. Maybe this drifting planet, this pale blue dot in darkness, is not a tragedy. Maybe it's the Ark. And what if we were never meant to stay in one place? What if the idea of orbit, of safety, is the illusion, and movement through chaos is the truth? That to be alive is to fall, to drift, to seek, and somewhere in that seeking, to transform. Now pull back. See Earth from above, alone, wrapped in ice and shadows, carrying with it not just life, but stories, memories, songs, everything we've ever been, still turning, still whole. And then, from the edge of space, from the quiet tension of the interstellar black, a soft ripple of light. Faint, Strange? Like a candle in a tomb, a second spark. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's only a dying star. Or maybe it's the beginning of a second chance, a gravitational well, a beacon, a new dawn waiting to be caught. You'll never know for sure, because the universe doesn't answer, it only asks. And in that silence, Earth continues forward, not toward certainty, but toward meaning, toward the next page. Because perhaps the story was never about the sun. Perhaps the sun was only the prologue, and everything that happens now is the beginning. So now you've seen it, felt it. Not just the science, but the silence. Not just the data, but the dread. You've imagined a world stripped of sunlight, drifting between the stars like a forgotten relic. And yet, you're still here, still breathing, still wondering. And that is where this story truly lives. Because this wasn't just about Earth leaving the solar system. It was about you, your place in a cosmos that doesn't promise comfort, only movement. It was about the realization that everything we love, our sky, our seasons, our sense of time, is balanced on a thread that the universe could cut without warning. And still, we carry on. Now take a step back. Ask yourself, was Earth ever really ours? Or were we only ever renting a moment in the light? Maybe it's not about survival. Maybe it's about awareness. To know how fragile this balance is. To look up at the stars not with fear, but with reverence. To understand that the sun is not a guarantee. It's a gift. And every sunrise, every warmth-filled breath, is borrowed from a universe that owes us nothing. And yet, here we are, a species that built cities, told stories, launched satellites, and asked questions the stars never demanded we ask. What if Earth does leave? What if one day we wake up under a sky that never brightens again? Would we give up? Or would we adapt? Would we fade quietly? Or write a new chapter? The truth is, we've already been preparing, studying rogue planets, mapping stellar flybys, running solar system simulations, watching Gliese 7-10 inch closer with every passing century. We know this can happen. The question is not if, but when, and whether we're ready. We've asked ourselves, could humanity survive if Earth became a rogue planet? Could we steer it? Could we find a new star, a new system, a second home? And deeper still, would our gravity change? What would happen to our moon, our oceans, our very breath? But maybe the most important question isn't scientific at all. Maybe it's this. If Earth is ever cast out into the dark, would we remember the light? Would we still carry it inside us? Because in the end, we are more than biology. We are memory, intention, curiosity. And that makes us different from the dust and debris we float among. We wonder. We imagine. We ask what happens next. So when this video ends and you look up at the stars, let this question echo in your mind. What if we're not just observing the universe, but answering it? You are part of a species that dares to ask, what if? That stares into the abyss and dreams anyway. That tells stories even when the lights go out. The Earth may leave the solar system one day. It may freeze. It may drift. But as long as you carry the story forward, as long as you ask, what else is out there? The journey never truly ends. Because the universe is not a machine. It's not a map. It's a question. And right now, you are part of its answer. So, stay curious. Stay questioning. And remember, in the deepest silence of space, wonder is the last thing to fade.